I always believed that love could fix anything, that if you poured enough kindness into a wound, it would eventually heal. But I was wrong. Some people don't want to be healed. They just want to keep proving they're right, even if it breaks everyone around them. My name is Harper, and this story begins the day I realized my son, Liam, wasn't invisible because he was quiet. He was invisible because someone made him feel that way. When I met Nathan, I thought I had finally found peace. He was gentle, patient, the kind of man who noticed when you were tired just by the way you breathed. I had been a single mother for 4 years when he came into our lives. Liam was 3 then, all curls, big eyes, and a laugh that could melt the hardest day. Nathan didn't hesitate. He knelt down the first time they met, offered his hand, and said, "Hey, buddy, I'm Nathan." Liam took his hand instantly. From that day on, they were inseparable. It didn't matter that Nathan wasn't his biological father. He became his dad in every way that counted. When we married 2 years later, Liam walked me down the aisle holding my hand like he was the one protecting me. He wore a tiny gray suit and whispered, "You look like magic, Mommy." For a while, everything felt perfect. But perfection never survives once you bring other people into it. Nathan's mother, Evelyn, was the kind of woman who believed she was the sun, and the rest of us were just planets orbiting her. Elegant, sharp-tongued, always in control. When she smiled, it was beautiful, but it never reached her eyes. At first, I thought she was just reserved. She brought me flowers the first time we met, hugged me with both arms, and said, "Welcome to the family." I wanted to believe her. I needed to. But there was something in her tone, a pause, a calculation, that made it sound like she was welcoming a guest, not a daughter-in-law. Liam adored her at first. He called her Grandma Eve and would draw her pictures every time we visited. But slowly, those drawings started staying in his backpack. He stopped asking if she liked them, because every time he handed her one, she'd glance at it, smile politely, and say, "Oh, that's nice, dear," before turning to praise Nathan's niece Bella for her perfect handwriting or new ballet trophy. The difference was small but sharp, like paper cuts that never heal. One afternoon, Evelyn hosted a family barbecue. The yard was filled with laughter, the smell of grilled food, kids running around. Liam stood next to the table holding a drawing he had worked on all morning, a picture of our family under a rainbow with the words, "My Forever Home." He had drawn Evelyn, too, standing next to him. When he handed it to her, she smiled tightly and said, "That's sweet, darling. You're such a creative little boy." Then she folded the drawing and used it as a coaster for her drink. I froze. Nathan didn't see it. He was talking to his brother near the grill. Liam just stared for a moment, then walked away and sat under the oak tree by himself. My chest burned, but I didn't say anything. I told myself it was a misunderstanding, that maybe she didn't realize what she'd done. But that wasn't true. Evelyn knew exactly what she was doing. From that day on, Liam stopped calling her Grandma. He started calling her Mrs. Evelyn, the same way he addressed his teachers. I noticed it. So did she. One night, as I tucked him into bed, I asked gently, "Why don't you call her Grandma anymore?" He looked at me, his voice small. "Because she doesn't call me her grandson." I couldn't argue. She didn't. Weeks passed, then months. Evelyn's favoritism became impossible to ignore. On Liam's birthday, she sent a card, blank inside, except for her signature. On Bella's birthday, she threw a full party with balloons, gifts, and a cake shaped like a crown. Nathan tried to defend her. "He's just old-fashioned," he'd say. "She doesn't mean harm." But harm doesn't have to be loud to leave a mark. I started noticing how Liam's confidence dimmed whenever we visited her. He would stand a little smaller, talk a little softer, as if bracing for rejection. I told Nathan that I didn't want to go anymore. He promised he would talk to her, but he never did. Until the night he came home with a small wooden box. He placed it on the kitchen table and said, "This is for Liam. Tell him it's from me, but he can only give it to my mother if she ever makes him feel unwanted again." I stared at the box. It was plain, carved from dark wood, tied with a thin red ribbon. "What's inside?" I asked. He said, "A truth she can't ignore." He didn't explain further. I didn't push. I trusted him. Maybe I shouldn't have. Because the day that box was finally opened, everything we thought was love, every smile, every Sunday dinner, every photo on the wall, shattered like glass. The summer came and went, but the silence between us and Evelyn never did. She still called Nathan every Sunday morning, pretending everything was fine. She asked about work, about the house, but never about Liam. I could hear it in Nathan's voice each time, the guilt, the conflict, the way he tried to keep both worlds from colliding. But worlds like that always collide. It was only a matter of when. Thanksgiving was her idea. She wanted everyone together again, her words dripping with forced cheer. Nathan wanted to decline, but I could see how torn he was. He still hoped that one day his mother would change, that love could wear her down like water against stone. "Maybe she's trying," he said quietly, staring at the invitation. "Maybe this time will be different." I smiled, but it wasn't real. "You've said that every year." He didn't argue. He just nodded, like a man preparing for battle but still hoping for peace. On the morning of Thanksgiving, Liam helped me bake pumpkin pie. His little hands dusted with flour, his smile soft but uncertain. "Will Grandma Eve be nice this time?" he asked. I froze for half a second before answering. "We can hope so, sweetheart." He nodded. "If she's not, can I give her Daddy's box?" The question hit me like a wave. I turned, looked at him, and said, "Only if you feel you have to." He nodded once, the way Nathan did when something hurt but had to be done. When we arrived at Evelyn's house, it was as perfect as always. The long driveway lined with lanterns, the massive oak door framed by gold leaves, the smell of cinnamon and roasted turkey drifting through the air. Inside, her dining table was set like something out of a magazine. Crystal glasses, linen napkins, polished silverware that gleamed under the chandelier. But one thing stood out, the children's table. 4 tiny chairs, each with a name card written in gold. Bella, Oliver, Noah, and then the last card, blank. My stomach sank. Evelyn approached us, dressed in deep green velvet, her pearls glimmering like frost. "Nathan, Harper," she said, kissing his cheek and patting mine. Then she looked down at Liam and smiled. "Oh, you've gotten taller." Her eyes flicked to the blank chair. "We weren't sure if he'd be joining, so I left that one open." The words were soft, but they landed like knives. I waited for Nathan to react. He didn't. He forced a polite laugh, muttered something about traffic, and guided Liam toward the table. My son sat down quietly, staring at the empty name card in front of him. He didn't ask why his name wasn't there. He didn't have to. His silence said everything. Dinner began with laughter, stories, and Evelyn's endless monologues about Bella's dance recital and Oliver's school award. Liam picked at his food, eating the edges of his roll while everyone else talked. I kept watching Nathan, waiting for him to speak, to say something, anything. But his hand stayed clasped, his fork untouched. When dessert came, Evelyn stood to give a little toast. She raised her glass and said, "To family, the people who make life worth celebrating." Everyone clinked glasses. Liam just looked down. Then softly, Evelyn added, "And to the grandchildren who carry on our family's legacy." That was it. The last thread snapped. I saw Liam's shoulders tense, his jaw set the way his father's did when something inside him broke quietly. He reached into his backpack and pulled out the small wooden box. My heart stopped. "Liam," I whispered, but he didn't look at me. He stood up from his chair, walked to the head of the table where Evelyn sat, and placed the box in front of her plate. The room fell silent. Evelyn blinked. "What's this, dear?" she asked, her voice airy but unsure. Liam's voice was calm, almost steady. "Daddy said I should give this to you if you forgot I was part of the family." No one moved. The clinking, the laughter, the murmurs, all gone. Only the sound of the fireplace remained. Evelyn gave a little nervous laugh. "Oh, sweetheart, what are you talking about?" But Liam didn't answer. He just went back to his chair and sat down, folding his small hands in his lap. Nathan's eyes met mine across the table, wide and filled with something between fear and relief. Evelyn hesitated, then untied the red ribbon. She opened the box slowly, the hinges creaking in the silence. Inside, she found a folded piece of paper and a small photograph. Her face changed instantly, from curiosity to confusion to something that looked a lot like shame. She lifted the photograph first. It was of Nathan holding Liam in his arms the day the adoption was finalized. Liam was wearing his Forever Family shirt, grinning from ear to ear. Beneath it, in Nathan's handwriting, were the words, "The day I became a father twice." Evelyn's hand trembled. She set the photograph down and opened the paper. Her eyes moved as she read. No one dared breathe. Then she spoke, her voice cracking. "What is this?" Nathan finally stood. His voice was steady, low. "It's a reminder, Mom, that family isn't blood. It's choice. And I made mine a long time ago." Evelyn's lips quivered. "You embarrassed me," she whispered. "In my own home." "You embarrassed yourself," I said quietly, "in front of the one person who still wanted your love." She looked around the table, searching for support, but none came. Even Bella, sweet and oblivious, looked down at her plate. Evelyn pushed her chair back and stood, her face pale. She said, "Get out." Nathan didn't move. "No," he said simply. "We're done walking out. This time, you are." For a moment, I thought she might slap him, but instead she turned, walked towards the kitchen, and disappeared behind the door. The room stayed silent until the only sound left was Liam's soft breathing. Nathan looked at him and said, "You did the right thing, buddy." Liam didn't smile. He just whispered, "I know." The drive home was silent, the kind of silence that hums in your chest, pressing on your ribs until you forget how to breathe. Liam sat in the back seat, holding his small backpack on his lap, his eyes fixed on the glowing lights of the houses we passed. Every few seconds, I caught him glancing at the box, now closed again, sitting beside him. Nathan's hands gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white. The road stretched ahead, endless and dark. I finally whispered, "Are you okay?" He didn't answer right away. "I should have done that years ago," he said finally. His voice was calm, but there was a weight in it. Not regret, just exhaustion. "She made you choose," I said softly. "She always did." He shook his head. "No. I made myself believe I didn't have to." When we got home, Liam walked straight to his room without a word. I followed him, standing in the doorway as he sat on his bed, still clutching the box. "Do you want to talk about what happened?" I asked gently. He shook his head. "Grandma was mean," he said simply, "but Daddy wasn't scared anymore." I felt tears sting my eyes. "No, sweetheart, he wasn't." He looked up, serious in a way no 7-year-old should be. "Can I keep the box?" "Of course," I said gently. He nodded once and placed it carefully in his nightstand drawer, like a secret he'd earned the right to keep. That night, after Liam fell asleep, Nathan sat on the porch staring into the dark. I joined him, wrapping a blanket around my shoulders. "She'll call," I said quietly. "She always does." He didn't look at me. Not this time. He was right. The phone didn't ring that night, or the next, or the one after. The world kept moving, but it felt different, quieter, lighter, but also lonelier. Cutting someone out, even when they deserve it, leaves an echo. The first Sunday without Evelyn's call felt like standing in an empty church. Nathan poured coffee like always, checked his phone, then set it down without a word. Liam came into the kitchen in his pajamas, dragging his blanket behind him. "Are we going to Grandma's?" he asked. Nathan knelt down, met his eyes, and said, "No, buddy, we're staying home today." He blinked. "Are we in trouble?" "No," I said, walking over to hug him. "We just needed a new kind of Sunday." He smiled a little, small and unsure, then climbed onto his dad's lap. "Can we make pancakes?" "Yeah," Nathan said softly. "We can make pancakes." That morning became our new tradition. No phone calls, no pretending, no walking on eggshells. Just us, the smell of syrup and the sound of Liam's laughter echoing through the kitchen. But peace never arrives without guilt. Some nights I caught Nathan staring at old photos, holidays, birthdays, moments that once seemed perfect. I knew he was grieving not for the person his mother was, but for the mother he wished she could have been. One evening, I found him sitting in the dark, the photo from the box in his hands. "She'll never understand," he said quietly. "I thought if I just showed her enough love, she'd see Liam the way I do." I sat beside him. You can't teach someone to see what they refuse to look at. He nodded slowly. He's stronger than I was at his age. He didn't wait for permission to stand up for himself. Because you gave him the power to. You gave him that box. He smiled faintly. I thought it would scare him, but I think it gave him courage. For weeks, Evelyn stayed silent, but one afternoon, a letter arrived in the mail. No return address, just our family name in her handwriting. My heart sank as I handed it to Nathan. He stared at it for a long time before opening it. Inside was a short note. No apology, just 3 sentences. You made your choice. I hope you're happy. Don't expect to be welcome here again. Nathan folded the letter once and dropped it into the trash. Liam watched from the hallway. Was that from Grandma? He asked. Yeah, Nathan said. Is she mad? Maybe, Nathan said. But sometimes people get mad when the truth doesn't fit their story. Liam tilted his head. Will she ever like me? Nathan hesitated. You don't need her to, he said. You've got us, and that's enough. That night, Liam slept with his hand resting on the nightstand where the box was hidden. I stood in the doorway watching him, the glow from his nightlight painting his face in gold. For the first time in years, I felt something like peace. Fragile, but real. What I didn't know then was that peace wouldn't last. Because even when you close the door on pain, it finds another way back in. And Evelyn wasn't finished trying to rewrite the story she thought she owned. It started with a knock on the door one Saturday afternoon. The kind of knock that doesn't wait to be invited in, just expects obedience. I was in the kitchen making lemonade when Liam ran in saying, "Mom, there's a lady outside with flowers." My heart stopped. Through the window, I saw her, Evelyn, standing on the porch in a pale blue coat, her hair perfectly styled, a vase of white lilies in her hands. For a second, I thought about pretending we weren't home, but Nathan was already walking toward the door. He opened it slowly. "Mom." He said it not with warmth, but with that careful tone people use when approaching a wild animal. "Evelyn," she replied, her voice tight but trembling. "I came to talk." She looked past him and saw Liam standing halfway down the hallway. Her eyes softened, just a little. "And to see my grandson." Nathan didn't move. "You made it clear how you felt about that." She sighed, the sound heavy and rehearsed. "I said things I didn't mean. I was hurt. You embarrassed me in front of the family." "You embarrassed yourself," Nathan said quietly. "You did that the moment you made a child feel unwanted." Her lips tightened. "You're being dramatic. He's a child. He'll forget." That sentence hit me like a slap. I stepped forward. "He won't forget. He already remembers everything." Evelyn turned toward me, her eyes cold. "I'm speaking to my son." "And I'm speaking for my child," I snapped. The air went still. She blinked, surprised that I'd interrupted her. Then she looked back at Nathan. "I came to fix things." "You can't fix what you refuse to admit," he said. She exhaled, then handed him the lilies. "At least let me say hello." Nathan hesitated, then stepped aside. I didn't want her in our house, but I also knew that shutting the door wouldn't make her disappear. Liam stood frozen near the stairs as she approached. "Hi, sweetheart," she said, her voice trembling with forced sweetness. "I missed you." He didn't answer. He just looked at Nathan. "It's okay," Nathan said softly. Liam nodded, then said, "You didn't call." Evelyn's smile faltered. I was busy, dear. With Bella? He asked. The question was simple, but it cracked something in her. Sometimes, she said. But I thought of you. He stared at the flowers in her hand. Do I get one? The room went silent. Evelyn looked down, realizing all at once that she hadn't brought anything for him, just for show. She hesitated, then plucked one lily from the vase and handed it to him. Of course, she said. Liam took it, but didn't smile. He looked at the flower, then at her, then handed it back. It's okay, he said softly. You don't have to pretend. Evelyn's eyes widened. For the first time, she looked small. Not powerful, not polished, just human. I'm not pretending, she whispered. I just want things to go back to normal. Nathan shook his head. There is no normal anymore. You think you're better than me now? She said, suddenly, her tone sharp. You think you can erase me? No, he said calmly. But I won't let you erase him. Evelyn's breath hitched. You'll regret this, she hissed, turning toward the door. He's still my grandson. Then act like it, Nathan said. She froze for a moment, her back to us, before walking out without another word. The door closed with a quiet finality. Liam turned to me. Did I do something wrong? No, I said, kneeling beside him. You did everything right. He nodded, but his eyes looked distant, as if he'd aged a year in 5 minutes. That night, I found Nathan sitting at the kitchen table, the vase of lilies still there. She came to make herself feel better, not us, I said. He nodded. I know. Do you think she'll try again? She's not the kind of person who gives up when she's wrong, he said bitterly. She'll twist it until she believes she's right again. He wasn't wrong. Over the next few weeks, she started sending gifts. Packages arrived almost daily. Expensive toys, books, clothes with tags still attached. No notes, just her name on the sender label. Liam didn't touch any of them. Can I send them back? He asked one afternoon. You sure? Nathan asked. Liam nodded. She didn't buy them for me. She bought them for herself. Nathan looked at me, his eyes shining with quiet pride. He's learning faster than I did. So we sent everything back, unopened, every single box, until one day a smaller envelope arrived. Inside was a photo of Evelyn holding Liam as a baby taken at our wedding reception. On the back, in her handwriting, it said, "This is who we used to be." Nathan tore it in half. That's who you used to pretend to be, he muttered. After that, nothing came. No letters, no gifts, just silence again. But this time it wasn't heavy. It was cleansing. Liam started laughing more, sleeping better. He began calling Nathan Dad again, not just when he was happy, but when he was scared, tired, or proud. One night, as I tucked him in, he asked, "Do you think Grandma misses me?" I smiled sadly. Maybe, but sometimes missing someone isn't the same as loving them. He thought about that for a long moment, then said, I'm glad Daddy picked me. I kissed his forehead. Me too. He smiled and whispered, that box made her see. But I knew better. The box didn't change her. It changed us. It showed us what love really costs and what it's worth. The first time I saw her name again was on an envelope with a gold seal. It arrived in early spring, when the air still carried a chill, but the trees had started to bloom. Nathan brought it in with the mail, his fingers tense around it. The handwriting was unmistakable, careful, precise. The same loops she used to sign Christmas cards back when we pretended everything was fine. For a moment, we both just stared at it. Liam was in the backyard, chasing the neighbor's dog through the grass, laughter echoing in the air. That sound, pure, unguarded joy, made me want to throw the envelope straight into the trash. But Nathan said quietly, "Let's see what she wants." Inside was a single page, written in her elegant handwriting. "If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. I never said everything I should have, but I've left something behind for you. For him. There's a letter for Liam at the lawyer's office. Please let him have it." There was no apology, just a postscript. "Don't make me a villain. I did what I thought was right." Nathan folded the page, eyes dark. "She's gone?" I asked. He nodded, apparently. He sat there for a long time, staring out the window. "Do we go?" he asked finally. "Do we take him to read it?" I didn't answer right away. I thought about everything Evelyn had done, every moment she made our son feel small, every time she stole the joy out of a room. "If she left something for him, he deserves to know," I said. "But it's your call." 2 days later, we sat in a small, quiet office downtown. The lawyer was an older man with silver hair and kind eyes. He opened a folder and took out a cream-colored envelope sealed with red wax. "Your mother asked that this be given directly to Liam," he said, handing it over. Liam looked at Nathan for reassurance. "It's okay," Nathan said softly. "You can open it." Liam broke the seal and unfolded the letter. The handwriting was the same, flawless, controlled. He read silently, his lips moving as his eyes scanned the page. When he was done, he looked up, his face unreadable. I reached for his hand. "What did she say, sweetheart?" He handed me the letter. It said, "Liam, I know I wasn't the grandmother you deserved. I wanted to love you, but I didn't know how. I grew up believing family meant blood, and I let that belief turn into walls I couldn't see over. I told myself I was protecting what was mine. I didn't realize I was losing what mattered most. You made your father proud in a way I never could. I'm sorry I made you doubt that you belonged. You did. Always. Love, Grandma Eve." The words blurred as I read them. Nathan reached out, took the paper, and read it too. He didn't cry, but I could see the muscle in his jaw tighten. "Do you think she meant it?" Liam asked. His voice was small, cautious, like a boy afraid to reopen an old wound. Nathan looked at him. "I think she tried. Sometimes people realize too late what love really means." Liam nodded slowly. "Can I keep it?" "Of course," I said. "It's yours." On the way home, Liam held the letter in his lap the whole time, staring at the folds like they were a puzzle he could solve if he looked hard enough. That night, after he fell asleep, Nathan sat on the edge of our bed, holding the letter again. "I wanted to hate her forever," he said quietly. "But reading this, I don't know. It feels like letting go. Maybe that's what she wanted. Not forgiveness, just release." A week later, we got a call from the lawyer again. There was a small box, part of her will, addressed to Liam. I didn't want to open another box. Boxes had become symbols of pain in our story, but Liam said he wanted to. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, was a silver bracelet with 3 charms: a heart, a key, and a small engraving of his initials beside hers. There was a card inside. "So you'll remember that love isn't locked away, it just takes the right key to open." He put it on without a word. That night, he came into our room, holding his wrist out. "Do you think she loves me now?" He pulled him into his arms. "She always did. She just didn't know how to show it until it was too late." Liam nodded. "Then I'll wear it for both of us." For a moment, the world felt quiet again. No anger, no walls, just a small boy who had learned to forgive before the adults ever could. I lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, realizing something I'd never understood before. Forgiveness isn't about giving someone a free pass. It's about setting yourself free from what they took. Spring melted into summer, and for the first time in years, there were no ghosts at our table. The air felt lighter, our home quieter, not from silence, but from the absence of tension. Liam was growing fast. His laugh had changed, deeper now, more confident. He still wore the bracelet every day. Sometimes I'd see him turning the charms between his fingers when he thought no one was looking. It wasn't sadness anymore. It was something softer, like remembering without pain. Nathan and I talked about Evelyn less and less. Her name had become like an old photograph in a drawer, not forgotten, but no longer raw. Life found rhythm again. We built new traditions. Friday movie nights with burnt popcorn. Sunday breakfasts where Liam flipped pancakes himself, leaving the kitchen covered in flour. And every evening, before bed, he'd whisper, "Good night, Grandma Eve," into the quiet. The first time I heard him do it, I felt my chest ache, not because it hurt, but because it no longer did. Healing doesn't announce itself. It just arrives quietly one morning when you realize the weight you've been carrying is gone. One evening, as the sun slipped behind the trees, Liam came to me holding the wooden box, the same one that once shattered everything. "Can I give this to someone else someday?" he asked. I frowned. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "Like, if I meet someone who feels invisible, maybe they'll need it." My throat tightened. "You can do whatever you think is right." He smiled. "Then I'll keep it safe until I know who it's for." Nathan stood in the doorway listening, eyes glassy, but he didn't speak. Later that night, as we sat together on the porch, Nathan said quietly, "He turned pain into purpose." "Because you let him," I said. "Because you showed him that standing up doesn't mean fighting. It means loving yourself enough not to shrink." He nodded. "You think she'd be proud?" I looked at the stars. "Maybe. But pride doesn't matter now. What matters is that he's free." For a long time, we sat in silence, listening to the wind move through the trees. And then Nathan said, "I used to think family was about loyalty, even when it hurt. But now I know it's about peace, about choosing the people who don't make you question if you belong." He took my hand. "We did that." "No," I whispered. "He did." Weeks later, we visited the lake where Evelyn used to take Nathan as a boy. Liam wanted to throw flowers into the water. He said it was for her. We didn't argue. We stood together at the shore as he tossed white lilies one by one, watching them drift across the reflection of the sky. "Goodbye, Grandma," he said softly. Nathan put his arm around my shoulders. "She'd like this," he murmured. "Maybe she's watching." "Maybe. But even if she isn't, this is enough." As we walked back to the car, Liam turned and called out, "Mom! Dad!" We looked at him. He smiled, wide and bright. "Can we go home now?" "I think Grandma's already there." I didn't ask what he meant. I didn't need to. Some things don't live in places. They live in the space we make for them. That night, he placed the wooden box on his shelf beside the photo of our family. He ran his fingers over the carved edges and whispered, "Thank you." When I kissed him goodnight, he was already asleep, the bracelet glinting under the lamplight. Nathan and I stood in the doorway for a long moment, neither of us speaking. It wasn't grief that filled the room anymore. It was gratitude for the lesson, for the strength, for the quiet love that had survived everything. Before turning off the light, Nathan whispered, "She finally saw him." I shook my head gently. "No," I said. "He finally saw himself." And maybe that was what all of this was for. Not revenge, not closure, but transformation. The box that once held pain had become a symbol of truth, passed from silence to courage, from fear to love. Some stories end with forgiveness. Ours ended with freedom. If this story reminded you of someone you've had to let go of, or someone you finally chose to hold on to, remember this. Love doesn't always look like what we're taught. Sometimes it's a small boy with a bracelet whispering goodnight to someone who hurt him and meaning it anyway. Sometimes it's the quiet after the storm, the peace that comes not because everything is fixed, but because you finally stopped trying to fix it. And sometimes it's a family that learned, through loss, that being chosen is the greatest kind of love there is.